Saul and Battery, hosted by Mel and Kelly. Forget what you know. Forget what you know. Assault and Battery.
And we are live. Welcome to Saul and Battery. I'm Kelly Thul at KELLYTHUL on Twitter. And with me, as always, is Mel.
Hey everybody, I'm Mel at Karmic9 on Twitter, and baby Judith is back with us again.
Hi, I'm Mike at Official Pagan. Thank you guys so much for having me back. 21 days, no electricity.
Yeah, so we appreciate you spending your precious power on this show. And, you know, the family they'll get better. They'll be fine.
I got my third world chip. It's like an AA chip, but it's for not having any utilities.
Nice.
I think you need to call Jimmy McGill.
That's right.
That's what I need to do.
He's a problem solver. So. Excellent. Well, we're a fun episode. Looking forward to going through it, but we've got some related business to take care of first. Just some general awesomeness that has happened between this show and last show. So we've gone a couple shows without the Kettlemans, and somebody that we've kind of connected through this show and just tweeting a lot about Better Call Saul. There's a Better Talk Saul podcast out there. And that Twitter, I followed that Twitter account. It followed me, and early last week they tweeted out, you know, when are we going to get the Kettlemans back? And they included the actress Julianne Emery's Twitter handle in their tweet. And I responded back saying, yeah, I'm a huge Kettlehead, and can't wait. And Julie really liked Kettlehead and declared it her new personal favorite for it, and she actually tweeted out tonight when the show started using the Kettlehead hashtag, so it's pretty awesome that she and Jeremy are both supporters of Kettlehead, and I've started a Twitter list for Kettleheads, so all you need to do is tweet me and say, put me on the list, or just as Jeremy Shamos, the actor that plays Craig, came up with, kettle me up. So hashtag kettle me up is another way you can tweet, and either way you tweet those things out, we will add you to the list of all of us who proudly support the Kettleheads. And as you can see, there's a little bit of a prototype Kettlehead. The super exciting thing is that Mel is working on an actual Kettlehead hat that we will have that'll be pretty cool to see, kind of a stocking cap that looks like a kettle. And through these conversations, it turns out that Julianne Emery's a big Firefly fan, as is Mel. And so, what are you doing, Mel?
I am making her a Jane's hat because I knit. If you know me anywhere else, you know that I knit. So I've actually almost got it done. So.
Excellent.
There will soon be a Jane's hat on the way.
Oh, this will be awesome. And Julie has promised to she's very excited to get it. And Mel makes a mean Jane's hat, let me tell you. And she's going to take a photo of it when she does get it. So we will be sure to post that like crazy when that comes around. So very, very cool on the Kettlehead front.
Yes.
So with
do I need to tell you to add me to this list, or is that just a given?
Consider it done, Mike. I think you might. There were a few people that I just assumed were Kettleheads. I thought you might have been one of those, but I'll double check. And if by some glaring omission I have not added you to the list, you don't need to do anything. You will be on the list before the evening is done.
Your
I appreciate
legacy.
that. I'm a legacy.
All the cool kids are Kettleheads, is all I'm saying.
I've been a Kettlehead since day one.
Right.
When I was sitting in the dark watching episode 1 of the show.
Back when I had power.
Yeah. Back in the olden timey days when I had electricity.
Yes.
Oh.
And then so last fun Kettlehead fact for you. I had tweeted out right at the very beginning of the show, Kettleheads Assemble, and got a favorite from Julie, which was cool to see. But guess who else favorited Kettleheads Assemble? Darth
Yeah.
Vader. Darth Vader did. Patrick Fabian favorited it. So
Awesome.
Darth Vader is a Kettlehead fan as well, secret Kettlehead fan as well.
Well,
talk
that's
a little.
good because we're planning on making the Kettlehead hat in Hamlindigo Blue.
That's right. I think we probably need to share that piece of information with him.
So I'm glad he approves.
Excellent. Yeah, that all works out because otherwise he'd probably sue us because that's what they do.
Right.
Excellent. All right, so maybe we can talk about the show. So before we get started, John McGevna wins the prize for quickest on the trigger with a Q&A. He's got a question already in there for us when the show started. He says, I can't believe there are only 3 shows left in the season. Somehow it doesn't seem fair, and Helena wants to see more Nacho.
I do too.
Yeah, we definitely need some more Nacho. I love the Kettlemans. I would love to see a Kettleman Nacho crossover, particularly Mrs. Kettleman and Nacho teaming up on something.
Yes.
That is a dangerous twosome, a very dangerous twosome. So, excellent.
Cool.
Well, we'll go ahead and get started with the cold open on bingo. And don't forget, kids, during as we recap the show, when you've got your favorite quote, be sure to stop the narrative and offer up your favorite quote. So in the cold open, very cool. This was your typical Breaking Bad / Better Call Saul, interesting framing of a staging of a scene and filming where you've got this kind of long shots of Jimmy and Mike on this bench. They're behind a bunch of wanted posters, and I just love the start where it's wanted face, Jimmy's face. It's just kind of coming down.
It was nice.
And Jimmy thinking he's in control of the situation, tries to tell Mike he's going to do all the talking. The police have become aware that their notebook was missing and it's being returned. And Jimmy cracks wise about the Pennsylvania. And actually, this would be probably something Mike has some familiarity with in terms of the ability for Pennsylvania to extradite individuals from other states. Mike, what can you say off of firsthand experience with extradition from other states?
I don't know about an extradition, but they're not in a rush to get power fixed. I'll tell you that.
Extradition ain't cheap, man. You gotta spend your money somewhere.
No.
Yeah, no, and you can always just do what I do, which is change up your appearance when you start to look too much like the wanted posters.
Did either of you see any familiar faces in that group?
I was looking, but I couldn't really tell. It was going by so fast, and I started late, so I was afraid to spend too much time on it.
I was looking too because I just felt like that had to be something in there that we were supposed to notice. But no, I didn't. Did you, Kelly?
So I didn't either. Now, same thing. I was looking. I was moving pretty quick. I did feel the character right before Jimmy comes into the frame looked an awful lot like the tattooed face guy without his tattoos on his face. So I guess it couldn't be him, but maybe that's his brother. I don't know. One looked a little familiar, but I was kind of wondering if we'd see maybe some familiar faces from Day Gone By. But the Story Sync didn't offer anything up there, and none of us saw anything. So I think those were just highly wanted Albuquerque criminals.
Yeah.
So
Kirky's a dangerous place.
What's that?
Kirky is a dangerous place.
Yes, it is. Clearly, because we're learning more and more. So the young cop is really putting the squeeze on Mike, and is not too happy with what's happened here, and he's gonna make him pay. And eventually, he kind of walks away, and Mike excuses Saul or Jimmy, and the two kind of old veteran Philadelphia cops start to exchange information, and basically the guy's saying, so is your daughter-in-law going to have anything to tell us? And Mike's basically just saying, I'm would guess no, but it's totally up to her. So, and finishes off with the older detective saying there are just some rocks you don't turn over.
Yep. Good line. I
liked
like
it.
that one. So then in Act 1, it's right directly after that. Mike and Jimmy are outside in the parking lot and discussing everything that's happened, and basically Mike is telling him, okay, we're done. We don't have anything else to, our business arrangement is over. And then there's a nice little interaction about, send me a bill, and Jimmy's yelling at him, oh, I'm going to send you my bill, which was cute. I like, because you shouldn't yell at Mike. You never know what's going to happen.
Now, was this the sequence where he referred to the cops as Philly cheesesteaks?
Yes, it was. As they're standing out in the parking lot.
Because that was my favorite line in the show.
Okay.
Being from Philadelphia, I hate to play into stereotypes, but we do just eat cheesesteaks all the time.
Okay. Good to know. Never had one.
No, if you're not from Philadelphia or haven't been through Philadelphia, you've never had one, no matter what anyone has called the sandwich you were eating.
Okay. Good to know.
Yes, I've traveled the country numerous times and had Philly cheesesteaks in other places, and that is not the same thing.
Okay.
Not that they're bad, just not the same thing. We eat them for breakfast, lunch, dinner. Sometimes we grind them up into smoothies.
Oh.
Oh.
And I'm a fan. I'm a carnivore. I'm a big fan of meat, but Philly cheesecake smoothie. I don't know.
It's on our food pyramid, Kelly. We have a special one just for here.
The state of Pennsylvania has their own food pyramid just for the Philly cheesecake. Cheese steak. Oh my gosh.
No, you know what? Cake sounds good too. We could do a Philly cheesesteak cake.
Oh, I don't ever want to meet that.
I feel like we've just hit on something brand new. Right here.
Somebody get on that right now.
There's a reason why this has not been hit upon before. So.
Oh, okay. So moving along in Act 1, Jimmy's next stop is to visit Chuck, his brother, and he goes into the house. Who knows where? He can't find Chuck. Where's Chuck? Well, then he hears a voice coming from, it seemed like the backyard. And Chuck is outside without his space blanket, counting up to 120 seconds, and then they run back in the house. So apparently he tries to explain to Jimmy what he's doing, and because there's a big transformer so many feet from his house, he has been steadily trying to build up his resistance to these electromagnetic waves that bombard him, and he is up to 120 seconds. But by next week, he hopes to be up to 5 minutes. So, progress for Chuck. This is a good thing. Chuck gives a speech about how he needs to be useful again, so he's trying really hard after that episode in the hospital and all of that he wants to get better. He wants to be useful again. He needs to go back to work. So at this point, Jimmy excuses himself, says he's got some more stuff in the car he's got to get in, and he goes out to the car, and he comes back in with a whole bunch of legal boxes. And he tells them, I just don't have room in my office for these anymore. Business is so good, I just don't have room. And I'm just going to store them here for a little while. And he then leaves, says he'll be back tomorrow. And Chuck is looking at the boxes, and finally, of course, curiosity gets the best of him, and he goes over there and starts sort of, looking at the top of one of the boxes, and we panned outside where we see that Jimmy is watching him through the window. So Jimmy's very happy at this progress. He seems very happy at this progress that Chuck has been making.
That's right, and I am so proud of myself that this was one of the few Jimmy cons that I figured out early on to go, I know what he's doing here.
Yes. Oh,
I did. It's really cool to see Chuck's progress, and I don't know if you guys are think this too, or maybe I'm just a negative person, but I think his progress is ultimately going to lead to his downfall somehow.
I would agree.
Yeah, it seems as if as we kind of finish off, we'll get through the whole episode here. It's there's these forces that'll eventually change Jimmy McGill into Saul Goodman, and
Right.
I think some of them start up this one, and I do think Chuck's probably going to be in there too somehow.
Yeah, something that's how I felt at the end of the episode. Something definitely happens to turn this guy into Saul Goodman. So we'll get there when we get to the end of the episode. One of the lines I do like that Jimmy threw out in Chuck's house was he's talking about working with all the seniors and maybe the dementia is contagious. That was a cute line. This one had a lot of lines that were pretty good. But after that, Jimmy puts on regular clothes. Have we ever seen Jimmy in jeans and just regular clothes? Have we ever seen Jimmy in not a suit? I can't remember.
I don't believe we've seen him rumpled. We've seen him channeling Darth Vader, and we've seen him channeling Matlock.
Well, I guess in the flashbacks he wasn't in a suit.
Yeah, he's in some crazy stuff there.
Yeah. So anyway, he's in regular street clothes. He takes Kim to this nice office building and shows her his future new office. And it's very nice. It's very big. There are several offices. And he takes her into one room and says, "This is my office." It's really nice. It's got a really nice window. Then he takes her into a corner office that's got better windows. And she's like, "You're crazy. This is the better view." And he's like, "I'm saving this for my partner." And I think we all saw that one coming. That
I did.
he wants Kim to be his partner. And she shoots him down.
Nicely,
yes,
but
she's touched, but she has to let him down because she's got a good thing going at HM, and we find out they paid for her law school, so she actually does owe them, and she's on a fast track for partner. She figures she's got 2 more years, she'll make partner, so why would she leave that? So Jimmy stands there while she runs off to look at the stainless appliances in the kitchen and looks very sad as he looks out the window. And I was sad for him.
Yes, and so John McGevna was asking, so one, he gave a shout out to the soft Philly pretzel also. Apparently that's the key accompaniment to a Philly cheesesteak.
It is, yes.
So those are awesome. So that you could go for, Mel, is the soft Philly pretzel.
That does sound like something I could eat.
You usually eat them with cheesesteaks.
So you'll have
I can
to do
eat
both.
one with cheese.
And a cheesesteak?
No, but the cheese I can do.
But John was asking about the earlier scene about when Jimmy did leave the case files. The question of is Jimmy doing this to help Chuck, or because he knows that Chuck's a better lawyer?
I think it's both.
What do you think, Mel?
Well, I think it's mostly to help Chuck, but I think that idea will definitely come into play later. Because, I don't know what all he left in the box. Maybe we'll find out there was something really important in the box, but as far as we know, Jimmy's just been doing, elder law. So I don't think there's maybe a lot of stuff he needs to get into there. So I don't know. I think that will definitely come into play. I'm not sure if it's in play already and I'm just too dumb to see it. Good question.
Yeah, I think where I'm kind of at is I think that his primary motivation is, I'll leave these here. I'll stumble on a form number to kind of key Chuck up that I need some help, and it'll be good for him to be a little less space blanket focused and kind of get back into what he does. But I also don't think, hey, and if on the way I'm tapping into some better legal expertise, I'm certainly not opposed to that. I think he welcomes that additional help, but I don't think it was a primary motivating factor.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we've been getting a couple Kettlehead requests through Twitter and through the Q&A. The McGevnas, you're in. You're both on the Kettlehead list. Congratulations. We'll get to some of the folks on Twitter later. We'll move into Act 2, which, speaking of Kettleheads, is the Kettlemans. And they are meeting with Kim. And Kim is trying to explain reality to the Kettlemans and explains that this whole innocent thing isn't going to happen, but she's got them a good deal, to which Betsy immediately responds, a deal is what they got OJ. So she was not too happy about deals.
That was a good one.
And then you just watch, Betsy's coiling during this whole thing and charging, and you just see Craig disintegrating moment by moment as he hears things like 30 years in jail, and he collapses a little bit. Then 16 months isn't a whole lot better for him, but that's the deal that Kim has given everything that's gone on. Hey, look, I can get you 16 months in a lower security installation. You probably wouldn't serve all of that, but of course you're going to have to return the money, to which Betsy says there is no money.
We're innocent.
Yes, we're innocent. There is no money. You need to get us off. None of these things are going well, and so they fire Hamlin, and McGill.
Well, let's be honest. Betsy fires.
Yeah, they's generous.
Yes.
She wears the kettle in that relationship.
She does.
She definitely wears the kettle. So then we move into a parade of awesome lines, because now we move into Jimmy in full Matlock mode at the retirement home, and there were just so many. I did pick my favorite quote out of this line, which, as he's spinning to try and keep everybody engaged and whatever, like no elbows and those types of things. My favorite quote was, "I hope you all took your heart pills," which was, I thought, a nice one. But there's no body checking. He talks about B12, which is also a vitamin, something about the GI tract.
Yes.
And then one of the ladies that win bingo starts to wax poetically about her cats Oscar and Felix, which is a special thing. But Jimmy gets a call. And then we cut to, he got a call from, and he answers with his pseudo-English guy. And it turns out that he's going to go meet with the Kettlemans back at the same cafe that they met at earlier. And Betsy starts laying down the law. There's going to be no jail time. And then kind of tries to convert the bribe into a retainer, which is interesting. And what I loved in this process is the waitress comes by at some point in time and asks Jimmy if he wants coffee, and he tells her no. Betsy tells her no. Craig desperately wants coffee and just gets walled off. So no coffee for Craig.
Yeah.
That was just, I loved that actor's performance of, he's really nailing poor Craig really, really well. Yes. I wanted him to get coffee. And so Jimmy excuses himself into a very confining bathroom with a burly fellow inside, and who doesn't seem too happy that Jimmy's taking a call in there, and calls the Kettlemans all sorts of names. Ned and Ma Flanders, Mr. and Mrs. Cocoa Bananas. That
was Myrna's favorite line. She tweeted that out on Twitter.
It was a good one.
Yes.
And he returns back, declaring mysteries of the bladder. And again, there's a reiteration from Betsy, there'll be no deal. And I believe this would be, so Jay's watching tonight, or listening tonight, and tweeted out that Cloud Cuckoo, descending from Cloud Cuckoo Land, he seems to indicate he has familiarity with that place. I don't really know what Jay's point is there. Maybe Jay's work environment is like Cloud Cuckoo Land. I don't know. Interesting.
Yes.
And so Jimmy's really having none of it. But then Betsy kind of puts the hammer down around, well, if there has to be an accounting of the money, we're going to have to talk about all of it. All of it. And Craig's like, that means yours too. I love Craig. I love those two
Yes,
together.
they're the best couple.
Most excellent.
Yes.
And that ends Act 2.
There was a line I liked in there. It was my runner-up to my favorite line of the episode. That was when Betsy's insisting that Jimmy exonerate them, and he's like, exonerate? That's a big word, especially in your case. So, yeah, that
I
was
love
really
whenever
good.
he does, and this is slightly off topic here, but whenever he answers the phone as his fictional secretary, I want to know the backstory of that character.
Maybe that's the next spinoff.
Yeah, maybe it's his impersonation of someone he's met. Who knows?
So Mike, do you have some suggestions for the starter kit for that backstory for Saul's secretary?
You know, I'm not sure, but I just feel like Saul probably, like Mel touched on there, probably based it off of somebody. So I wonder if that's a character. I don't think we will, but I hope that's a character we'll see at some point in a flashback in my own fan fiction that we're going to see, and then see how he incorporates that and adds his own little touches of backstory to it.
You know, maybe we haven't seen the receptionist at Hamlin and McGill. Maybe it's a British person, and this is one more way he's trying to stick it to Lord Vader.
I like
Could
it.
be.
That's an interesting story. So speaking of Lord Vader, Act 3 opens with Jimmy and Hamlin walking very quickly through Hamlin's office till they get to an office full of boxes, and it's full of the Kettleman's files. So Jimmy asks, "Where's Kim?" And he says, "We've moved her to the East Wing." "That's the cornfield." And here's my favorite line. "Why are you sending her to the cornfield, Howard?" It's just, that tickled me somehow.
Yes, it was just a little bit better than sleeping with the fishes. Getting sent to a cornfield.
Yeah. So Jimmy gets all of the boxes and heads down to his sad little car in the parking garage. And who's down there smoking? But Kim. So he leans up on the wall next to her, and she seems very upset. She's, of course, lost a big deal, a big client, and they've moved her to the cornfield. So her 2-year track for making partner is now like 10 years, and this is ruining her career. And we know that Jimmy cares a great deal about Kim, and she has asked him before to try and get the Kettlemans to come back to her, and they refused. So this is an important scene in that Jimmy sees her and how upset she is by all of this, and finds out that this has damaged her career. So, Kim basically is telling him, they're guilty as sin. She's seen all of the evidence. Craig was not very good at covering his tracks in taking this money, and they really need to take the deal because they will lose. And Jimmy is channeling a little bit of Saul, trying to go, there has to be a loophole. And she's like, no, none that I could find. So I don't know about you guys, but I was sitting there thinking, oh, Jimmy's going to find that loophole. This is going to be Saul coming up with the great defense. I was really kind of hoping it would go there.
Yeah, that's where I was hoping it would go, that he would think of something, and that maybe that could be the transition of her to his growing firm.
Right.
I was there too. I was thinking there was probably some study case that he took at the American College of Samoa, and that we had one just like this, and here's how I solved it.
Yeah.
But what happened?
He came up with a different solution. Where next we see him in his office, going very, very diligently through all of his law books, and we see he's exhausted, and then he looks up at the ceiling, and he goes over there and pops up the ceiling tile and finds the rest of the stash of the quote-unquote retainer that Betsy had given him at the campsite. So the next thing that we see is Mike. Mike has the money. And you're like, why does Mike have the money? Mike is outside the Kettleman's house, and he has an RC car, and he sprays something on the money and puts it in the car and drives the RC car up outside the Kettleman's house. They are inside playing, probably singing bingo with the kids, since bingo is not only a game played at the Senior Citizen Center, but the name of the episode. So, who knows?
It looked really unpleasant to be one of the Kettleman children. There was lots of arm flailing, and it didn't look enjoyable to me.
No. So eventually, Craig goes to take the trash out like a good husband should, and finds the RC car by the trash cans with the money in it. And I will admit, I didn't see this. I did not think they were going to think what they thought. So he takes the money in and, of course, goes running to Betsy. And their conclusion when they see the money in the RC car is that the kids got into the money and the kids were driving it around in the RC car. So that isn't where I thought it was going to go. So I guess I'm slow. The next thing we have.
Just really, like, if I can't speak for the Kettlemans, obviously, but if I was in that position where I stole money and then I found money outside, my mind wouldn't immediately jump to the kids were playing with it.
Yes. That's not where I would have thought, but, whatever.
Yeah, being fully aware of Warren and JoJo's backstory, I'm not willing. Maybe there's a pattern of them getting into the stash already or something.
Especially
and that's the other thing. It was fairly well hidden. Why would you tell the kids where the money is?
Right. That's the thing. Especially when we find out where the money is, why would the kids have been into it and how would they have found it? So Betsy calls the kids in, and we can tell that Betsy's the disciplinarian in this family.
Shocker.
And,
I think that goes for Mr. Kettleman as well.
Yes, it does. Twice. And they obviously were just looking in from the outside into the house, into the scene that's going on. But obviously they yell at the kids and send the kids up to bed. So shortly all the lights go off. And Mike approaches the house and shines his black light. He breaks into the house and uses his black light to trace where the money has gone, because it was luminol or some such substance that he sprayed on the money that was all over Craig's hands. And basically he's leaving a trail through the house of where he went to stash this money back with the rest of it.
I don't know about you guys, but I would hate to see what this place looks like with luminol.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a whole different episode. I think that would be. So Mike's in the house during this time, and so my biggest fear was that he was going to get caught. Not for Mike. I wasn't really worried about Mike too much, but I think I know the answer to this, but. In a Kettleman versus Mike 2-on-1 cage match, where's your money?
Definitely on Mike. I mean, Betsy's hardcore, but she's not Mike's level of hardcore.
Yeah, no, Mike is going to come out on top, but Betsy's going to get some hits in.
Yes.
Yeah, unless you can come up with a way to give Craig up, in this process to kill him, and at that point, get an angle on Mike. I would put my money on Mike, but I could see her using Craig as bait somehow.
I wouldn't put it past her. So the money ends up being hidden under the bottom of the upstairs sink's cabinet. So Mike loads all the money up into a big bag, and he takes it to Saul. And Jimmy is looking at this big bag of money, and he's just, he looks very pained. Very, very pained. He puts the rest of his money in there and then opens up a bank envelope and puts more money in there. And just really, you can tell, his hands are lingering on the money. He hates to let it go. But Mike asks him, what are you going to do with this? And he answers, with air quotes, the right thing.
And every word came out painfully.
Yes.
He was not feeling proud of this.
No, he was not. He was not happy about doing this, but he had to. He had to do it for Kim.
Now, if you guys were faced with the temptation of keeping even just a little bit of the money, do you think you would, air quote, in pain, do the right thing?
Nope. This isn't like live or anything. I mean, theoretically, nope. Let's leave it.
This is hypothetically, if that sort of money should just fall in my lap. Yeah.
It's a big bag. Things could fall out. Hard to
right,
keep track.
Just a little bit. They'd never miss it. Just a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, my retainer definitely would have grown.
Yes,
that would
just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because really, if most of it makes it back,
right. Plus, I mean, he is their attorney. They do have to pay him, regardless of whether or not they're guilty.
Yeah, I'm thinking that was supposed to come out of their pocket, not out of the embezzlement money.
Which was in their pocket, so...
Yeah, they could have had it in their pocket for a while.
Yeah.
He had his, what was it, $30,000 retainer?
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel like that whole operation was worth at least another $70,000. Just call it $100,000 and move on.
Right. Then he could get his office. So sad. So that was the end of Act 3. He and Mike are square now. They're done.
Which is sad because we want to see them working, and I'm sure things will have to continue to evolve because we want to continue to see Jimmy and Mike pair together. It's quite the 1-2 punch there. So then the final act, we get back to the Kettle House, and Jimmy's visiting with them. And kind of goes, so that money you say doesn't exist, you might want to go check where you hide it, and kind of gives a location. And we are treated to the kettle scramble.
Yes.
There's a frantic scramble, first by Betsy and then later by Craig, to go to the hiding location, and they discover all the money's gone. And she comes down and calls Jimmy a thief, which he finds a little ironic at this point in time.
Yeah.
And so then she starts to talk about, well, you took the bribe. And he's, so we're calling it a bribe again, because it has seemed to slide between bribe and retainer a couple times here in a couple episodes. But he basically lays down a law to say what you need to do now. It's on the way to the authorities, and you need to go back and plead forgiveness and go back to Kim. So We're seeing what a good guy Jimmy is, at least for Kim, in these processes.
Yes.
And so then they kind of we're back to the kind of the garage again, and Kim's coming down, and the Kettlemans are in the car, and Jimmy's there. And hang on, just before then, too, they were, as they continued to debate back and forth with Jimmy about the merits of this, he goes, well, if it's a bribe, you're both implicated. Right now it's only Craig, and then you'll both go to prison. Maybe there'll be conjugal visits, I don't know. But then he points to, and this was another front runner for me for a line, was he says, you're probably going to be able to start your own gang, which I do think. I would not want to mess with the Kettles in prison. That would be a tough one.
There was also mention of embezzlement kerfluffle.
Yes.
I'm very fond of the word kerfluffle, so I like that.
Yep.
It's a good word.
It's a great band name, too.
Yep.
So then they get to the garage, he gets them over to Kim, and then so that they're reunited. They're going to do the deal, we think, so far. We'll see. And Jimmy heads back to say goodbye to his elder law office. Looks longingly at a couple of the rooms, goes into the corner office that he was wanting Kim to take. And you kind of think it's ending there with him just going to be kind of standing there thinking, but then he shuts the door and we're treated again to the McGill kick as he just kicks the crap out of the door. And then we cut back to see him very, very despondent on the floor.
He was actually sort of crying. Little Jimmy sobs. It was very sad.
And then the phone rings and his fake British receptionist returns. And so who do you think's on the line? Is it a new elder law case? Is it the Kettlemans coming back? Who do you guys think?
I hope it's Nacho.
I would love to see Nacho back. I think, though, it's going to be something to do with Mike.
Oh, that could be. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I have a hard time if Jimmy heard Nacho on the other end of the line. I'm really skeptical that he's going to trot out the British guy on Nacho. Is Mike, at least I think that would be unwise. But yeah, maybe something with Mike could be good. I'm hoping it would be the Kettlemans coming back because I just think they're together. They're awesome.
I really hope we see more of the Kettlemans.
Me too. I hope this doesn't end their arc because they're awesome. And
Well,
I definitely need Kettle closure.
Yes. Who knows? Craig may break out of his minimum security prison job. Or what'd they say? They were sending him to county if he took the deal?
Yeah.
Yeah. He could break out of county. Betsy could break him out of county.
Yeah.
That would be a great arc.
Yes.
Kettleman's on the run. Yeah.
That could be a spin-off of the spin-off.
I like
They
it.
could get their own show.
Kettleman's on the lamb.
Yeah.
They are those crazy Kettlemans. On this.
That's the best title. Those crazy Kettlemans.
Yep. So did we get a favorite quote from you, Mike? I don't remember.
The Philly cheesesteaks.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry. I just thought we were talking about food.
Yeah.
It was an excuse to talk about food.
Yes.
Is it
My runner-up, though, was him closing the door and kicking everything,
Yeah.
which isn't really a line. But
That's true.
But it was a great moment.
it was.
There were a lot of great moments. A lot of very silent, no dialogue moments in this episode. It was really good. I need to watch it again, actually.
I really want to go back and look at the wanted posters again.
Uh-huh.
I just feel like there has to be something on there.
I
We're going to see somebody on there. Somebody.
Yeah,
Somebody we know.
maybe Carl Kettleman, Craig's bad blood brother. So we've got something from John here in the Q&A. John has to believe that Betsy's entire plan was to take this to trial, then have Craig do 30 years, and then she could take the 1.6 million and buy a Polos Hermanos franchise, which is now there's some fan fiction for you right there.
Tell ya, I wouldn't want her and Gus to get on the same team.
Ooh, Gus and
bad
Betsy.
news.
Well, Gus is married, so this.
I was
is
about to say, did we ever actually see Gus's wife?
No,
Oh.
I'm starting
not
to
that I
think.
remember.
We have to go back and watch some old Breaking Bad episodes and see if there's like a picture of Betsy somewhere in the house.
Yeah. Interesting.
That,
There we go.
if that wasn't true, it should be. Because we never did see. And so the other Breaking Bad callback I'll do, and it comes back to what I want to make sure I'm very clear pointing out was Mike's initial suggestion that you might want to lift a few of those packets of money out of the big bag of money. We've been in a somewhat similar circumstance before when there was a giant pallet of money, and the A-team, Huel and Kubi, were responsible for loading it up. Do you think that a packet or two made it into their pockets?
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
After they laid on it for a while.
Like, whoops, as they're getting up and trying to.
Ah,
It
it stuck to me. There's no way I could get this off.
That's right. It just sort of slipped into their pocket.
Yeah, seems fair. Who could blame them?
No, can't blame them at all. After all they went through with that whole EPA act that they did and everything, that was awesome.
I can't wait to see how they're introduced.
That I am super excited for that. I mean, and that originally what I thought. It's kind of the void the Kettlemans are filling right now. I don't want them to go away, but
Right.
And somehow the Fantastic Four of Craig and Betsy Kettleman with Kubi and Huel could be awesome.
Yeah.
In uniforms. Fantastic Four uniforms too.
Oh, you'd think we were drunk, y'all.
You would. Well, awesome. So a couple things. Make sure that you're tweeting at me asking to be added to the Kettlehead list. All you need to do is ask. I'll be happy to tack you on there, or hashtag Kettle me up, and we'll take care of you that way.
I feel like we need a Kettlehead handshake. We got to work on that.
Yep, that's
Or a whistle.
Yeah. We're open to all Kettlehead supporting material, so have at it, folks. If you've got handshakes.
I think the whistle's a great idea.
I'm tired. I'm cracking myself up now.
I think it's outstanding. It took me a second to catch up with that one, Mel, but very good. But very cool on all that stuff. Mike, thanks for joining us again tonight.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me back.
Thank you.
I have been listening to the Insider podcast and also has various articles out there, and I have heard that the last two episodes are surprised even Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould in terms of where they went. So I think things are going to pick up steam. This was a nice. Things kept moving forward, but didn't have the same kind of intensity that the Mike episode had, but it was still all very awesome. And that's, every episode's a little bit different.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. It was nice. A lot of Jimmy, a lot of funny. But I did love the Mike episode too, because we've waited a long time for that episode. But yeah, they're all good.
Cool. And hopefully some more Nacho comes before the end of the season. He's been away for a while, so we've got that to hope for. Which, if things are going to get out of hand,
or Tuco. We need more Nacho or Tuco. Something.
If you're looking for things to get out of hand, those would be two guys I'd want to involve. Because I think they'd be able to make that happen.
Yep.
Cool.
I don't know, Mrs. Kettleman and Tuco?
Oh boy,
that's a big old crazy train.
Yeah, I'm boy. I don't know. I can wrap my head around Gus and Betsy a little more than Tuco and Betsy right now.
Yeah.
The Gus and Betsy thing would be amazing.
They should at a minimum they need to go back and digitally introduce pictures of her in the Gus household.
That's not too much to ask, is it?
No, come on, it would be great. It's like the Lucas did with Star Wars kind of thing. You just start messing with stuff. And that'd be good. Cool. Well, we will be back again next week for another edition of Saul and Battery and Kettlehead Talk and all other good things as well. So really appreciate everybody listening, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.